Welcome everyone to the Angel Capital Association Life Science Sector Call. You're in the right place. I'm delighted that we have a wonderful guest speaker today. His name is Dave Shen. I put some notes out there for you to look at, and Dave will also share his contact info, his URL, and everything in the chat box, which is what we use primarily to kind of share info. But let me just start off with this. Have you ever been in that flow state of mind where everything seems to be going perfectly and you're having a great time and you lose track of time? And then all of a sudden something happens and you fall out of flow and then you get stuck. Well, that's not an uncommon thing. Some people find their own remedies, and some of it outside of normal venues. You might find exercise helps, and then all of a sudden it clicks in again. Dave and I go way back. Dave has been an entrepreneur. He's an angel investor. He's a former venture capitalist, family guy, athlete. He's done it all. And then most recently, when I learned about some of the things that he's been doing, which is really around the world of coaching and professional coaching, life coaching, and some of the connections with heart and mind and spirit that he works with, Dave and I just decided to have a conversation because it's some of the things that we've been talking about on this call, which is how do you know that you're self-aware? What does self-awareness mean in this busy, busy world, when really self-awareness requires some stillness and an ability to kind of think about who you are, what you do. We expect it from our entrepreneurs, but at times we forget about ourselves. So I invited Dave here today to talk about the practice of coaching, which may seem natural, and part of it is natural, but there's a professional aspect to it where you can guide people to their perfect state of mind and how to maintain that, and coaching truly helps. So with that, I wanted to also let you know we are recording the session, his session. We will stop the recording during Q&A. And Dave will use parts of his talk online and social media and all these things and whatever he wants to do, and we'll coordinate it with the ACA as well. But I just want to let you know, and I wanted to welcome Dave Shen. Dave, please, the floor is yours, and we'll leave some time for Q&A when Dave is ready for that as well.
All right. Thanks, Foz. That was an awesome introduction. I'll have to remember it and give it to my next friend that I pay to introduce me. So I'm super glad to be here. Foz and I have gone, like you said, we go way back and have done investing together, and recently reconnected on a bunch of really important topics that we both feel are things that we all need and can be helpful for us going forward. So with that, I will dive in. Let's see if I can do this right. All right, I'm going to. All right, can everybody see the presentation? Everybody okay? All right, good. So the topic that Foz and I were kind of discussing is a really large topic. And hopefully in the time we have here, I can go through as much of it as possible. And certainly it's up for more discussion after that. And the title I came up for this was Becoming the Holistic Investor, because I'm very much into what we call holistic coaching. And it's really coaching not just the mind, where I learned traditional like talk coaching techniques, but I also found that I got better results when I joined the body and the spirit alongside coaching the mind. So talking about those concepts today, and with respect to you all who are investors, thought it might be very useful. Okay, so quickly about me. Won't dwell on this slide too much. I went to school on the East Coast, came out to the West Coast on Stanford. I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was at Apple, Frog Design, Yahoo, and then I joined a venture capital firm called Launch Capital. And then when I got tired of that, I went to my second love, which arguably was probably my first love, which was personal training. I love to work out, as Foz has mentioned. I learned a bunch of disciplines to do that, and I started teaching and training people in it. which then led me to coaching. First in the nutrition coaching, then that opened my eyes to how nutrition can affect our health. So that led me to health coaching, and then ultimately to life coaching, which I found is generally the big thing, where it's blocks and barriers to you doing something that you might have learned. Like, why can't you stay on a diet? Why can't you sustain a workout? Or why can't you even stay in your job? Right? Those are the kind of things that I just love getting at, because it's not about the structure and the habits, and we can talk about all that, and they're very useful tools, but about why you can't do it in the first place. And that's what really is one of those things that drives me forward in this occupation that I have today. All right, so you're all investors. Do any of these words resonate with you? I can tell you, when I was an investor, boy, I felt these things every week that I did this stuff, right? It can be very taxing to be an investor. You're throwing a lot of resources out there, and wow, it takes. When I started investing, maybe people were talking about, oh, we could sell a company in a year and make some money off of it, and that was great. But then, boom, the horizon for returning investments climbed beyond 10 years. I've got investments running still that are surviving, thankfully, and a lot of them had dropped away, and that's another part to kind of resolve in ourselves. But yeah, a lot of these feelings. Well, guess what? You're not alone. Entrepreneurs are feeling it too. I put down a source down there. It's been a lot of recent talk about the mental health of entrepreneurs, but it really isn't a new problem. It's been around since I've been doing it. I've been doing investing since 2006. So it's always been there. And I think the pressure that people feel now is even more heightened, because when I started back in 2006, people were raising maybe 100K, maybe a couple 100K. And then, managing that was one level, but now people are raising tens of millions of dollars on their first round. Can you imagine what kind of pressure these guys are feeling when a big VC comes in? I'm going to bet that much money on you, and they're on your back saying you need to perform, because they don't want to lose their tens of, or maybe $100 million potentially on some of these things now. So it's a lot of pressure. They may feel unsupported, alone, all this stuff. And there's even clinical diagnoses like ADHD, bipolar, that people are finding in these entrepreneurs. All right, so if there are two parties of people that are feeling the same way, this is not conducive to a positive working relationship. It's just not. And you both don't feel very good, and you're both like trying to come together and do something, but man, those negative things really draw both of you down, including the relationship sometimes too. So what else? Things like unrealistic expectations, fear of missing out. Oh, my buddy, he just did $10 million on a 25K investment. Oh man, I could do that. Stress of seeing your life savings just go out, dripping out. Maybe you had euphoria. Maybe you put out too much money in the beginning. You didn't kind of apportion it, realizing that you need to keep doing this for 10 years and not just 1 or 2 years. Man, the stress of communicating and getting these guys to do what you would like to do, what you think that is right for them. Why won't these guys just listen to me, right? I'm sure all of us have been there, thinking that it was easy. I've met so many investors during my time that they're new to it, and they just come in with all this euphoria, saying like, oh, if I just bet on and follow the herd of everything, I'm going to make the bajillion dollars that everybody else is seeing, that I see in TechCrunch and all the popular rags. I'm going to be just like them. And I go, man, you have no idea. I tell you. One thing that might have been on your minds is they call it, the investment professionals call it, economy pushes all us out in the risk curve. But I wonder about that. You look at yield and all that stuff, but is it real or is it perception? Because if you looked at just a simply S&P 500 from back then till now, you would have made more money just sticking your money into stocks and not going out and investing in angel investing. So this is not a presentation to say stop an angel investing and do something smarter, but I urge you to kind of take a look at what's real and what's perception. And a lot of us, we always buy into those good parts. We see the excitement of making a gajillion dollars on so less money, and not seeing only, for a long time, it was like less than 1% or 0% on our savings. We want to make more money, but we forgot about how much work and effort and emotional toll this can have to be in this business. All right, so, looking at what I just said, how do you feel about life as an investor? All right, well, I know I didn't paint it very positively, and this probably doesn't apply to everyone here. There are certainly a lot of people who love what they're doing. And maybe that's the goal for us here today is how do we love what we're doing, right? So the question for me in a big project is, how can I improve my feelings about investing and also become a better investor? Because we don't want to just feel better about it. We also want to perform a little bit better. So over time, I came up with these kind of essentials. So first, let's talk about what you can control and what you can't. So you can't control what deals show up for you, sort of, all right? What the economy is doing, how the market ultimately reacts to any startup. You can't control yourself, right? Your motivations, behaviors, reactions, interaction, decisions, and feelings. Now, maybe if you're good at what you're doing, you can control maybe a little bit entrepreneurs' actions and change, influence them, knowing that all of us, especially those of us who are with a partner or a spouse, changing another person is impossible without their permission, right? So always remembering that, yeah, we want this person to change, but they're not going to do it unless they want to. You may be able to influence a startup's actions and their change. And you know what? You may be able to get better deal flow, but I'll tell you, if you're sitting in the middle of the country and trying to get into Stanford deal flow, it's going to be hard for you to do that. So some of it's in your control. You could move to California and maybe try to get into there, but doing it from afar can be very, very tough. All right, so distilling that further, right? Understanding yourself, right? Awareness of what's going on inside you and removing the blocks, barriers, and triggers. Stop feeling crappy about what you're doing, because that can flow out of just this occupation. It can flow into your family. It can flow into your friends, how you treat people, right? That nastiness, we don't want that to spread. So resilience towards all these negative feelings is very crucial about yourself and also investing. Working more effectively with entrepreneurs, right? Controlling ourselves will allow us to do that, but also we can improve our communication and ways of supporting people and therefore improve our ways of influencing. And then improve investment picking, because right now, I bet a lot of you are very much into the analytical. If I look at the numbers, if I look at the market, all that kind of stuff, that can get us to one level of certainty or not. But I would say that over the years, I've discovered the people who can smell a good investment actually do sometimes better. And that's the accessing your intuition and parts of you that you may not have access to, although we all have it inside all of us, so that we can kind of smell out. It's like, oh, is this guy really on the level, or is he really going to perform for me? But also what accessing that gives you is better knowing what is right for you, because what is right for someone else may be totally wrong for you. So getting to know that better will make you feel better about things. And also just stop following the herd. That's an easy one, right? We just go like, oh, if so-and-so funds in it, I'm going to bet on that. I'm going to try to jump in there. But I have found that that's actually not a panacea for success. I've seen so many investments that done by some notable seed stage VC that have totally collapsed. All right, so how did I arrive at these essentials? So a little bit about myself, one man's journey. First, as an entrepreneur, I was an early guy at Yahoo. I had great years. I do not ever say I regret those years, and all the stuff that I got out of it was super positive, but it was certainly laced with the negative. So looking at Clint Eastwood, Good, Bad, and Ugly, one of my old favorite movies, right? There was always the good parts, right? There's euphoria of being in a startup. Wow, the internet was growing and we were growing and all that stuff. Being part of a small team, we were working all together. Creativity, adaptability, rolling with the punches when the market or our customers did it, would hand us negatives. Money, wow, yeah, we were all making money. Wow, that was pretty awesome. There was growth and there was challenge. Well, the bad. There was a lot of stress involved in that. You can imagine working for long days for years, okay? And especially now in today's environment when you're trying to get somewhere, the pressure's on. You have to really be into what you're doing for a lot of reasons to be able to work those days. There was a lot of pressure, right? We all wanted to do great things, but there was a lot of pressure to keep going. As the company grew, office politics did too. And I was not equipped to handle those politics at those times, right? So what happened was there was a slow progression, therefore, to my role actually being negated and minimized, okay? So negative feelings building around that. I had a great boss who left, and then I had a not so great boss. So that wasn't so positive. And by the way, I gained 15 pounds in this, which for a guy who loves to work out, that was crushing. And it was just kind of this undercurrent under everything that was going on. And then the ugly. I would say that my divorce from my wife at the time was
Do, and
incredible.
I'm anxious to look at their financials. I want to see how much they're
Can you mute
making.
him, please? Oh, okay. So thank you. My divorce was definitely tied to the time I spent over at this company. Okay, and the time I didn't spend with her. Okay, so I don't wish that on anybody, but it happened to me. Feeling lost as my function got more and more minimized. Where would I go? Where would I grow? In a year, I became, from an IC, I went to VP of User Experience and Design of a public company. Wow, that would take like decades for other people to get there. I did it in like 2 years. So I didn't have any people to guide me. I was traveling way too much. And then I added in triathlon training, which a lot of people think, oh, if I just exercise more, things will get better. But actually it didn't, because it just further depleted my energy. So I got out of that. Finally, I wisened up and said, okay, I got to get out of here. So I started angel investing with what I call David Shen Ventures. And then ultimately someone saw what I was doing and liked what I was doing, like me. And I felt very fortunate to join up with an early stage VC called Launch Capital out in Connecticut. And I was their West Coast guy. So again, the good, very similar, right? Euphoria, wow, a VC picked me up. I can do all this stuff with more money and with big backing with an LP, right? And people like love me for that. That's the good thing about investor, right? People chase you and they want to be friends with you, but they really want your money. But I liked it anyway. You have to be creative to be a good investor. I was adaptable to roll with the punches there. There's a lot of money we were playing with, growth challenge again. And I was helping people. I love helping people. That's one of the reasons why I do coaching today. And I just loved helping people and companies in that fashion. Like I mentioned before, right? I joined a VC. That was very exciting to me. And also the ability to let go, because you're going to lose a lot if you've been doing this for a while. So you got to just say like, you know what, that money, boom, it's gone. You know, you got to put out a lot of money, and a lot of it's going to exit before you're going to make that money back. So the bad, still the stress, the pressure to perform now for a larger LP. And unrealistic expectations after a big win. I don't know if anybody on this call has had a big win, but I'll tell you, it is one of those kind of mind-changing things where you like, if you win lotto, you know you can do it again, right? And that unfortunately makes you keep going, because you think you can kind of find that next lotto ticket out there. Also, since I've been doing it, I don't know how long people have been doing it here on this call, but the people I meet out here in Silicon Valley, they've been only doing this for about a year or 2 or 4 years. And I can tell you, starting in 2006, the world was way different back then. And it evolved, right, to a completely different place, and especially for stuff like on the internet, which I invested in. I mean, even you can see now, I mean, the early valuations for these companies are insane. I mean, 9, 10, 15, $20 million pre-money for the first round. I'm like, come on, guys, like, that's insane. This doesn't make sense in any level. So, and then our check size was too small to compete with all that. And great deals are harder to find. Just overall, I think that applies to a lot of different industries. And then the ugly. Entrepreneurs' arrogance is at an all-time high, and it keeps climbing, right? They think they can kind of demand all this stuff with no progress. We were getting worked out of deals, and that really was painful, because people would always chase the bigger money, and we weren't putting enough money in. Our process by itself would slow to a crawl. I mean, 10 weeks to a no in this environment, that's just insane. And plus, my personal money was going out there, and I had to stop personally investing. I just couldn't keep going. So again, the path to their essentials, repeating the slide, except that a lot of this stuff that you'll work on, you may find that it goes beyond investing. So when you have resilience towards negative feelings to yourself, it's not just investing, it's towards whatever. It's whatever in life. And then when you work more effectively, not only with the entrepreneurs, you may find that you actually communicate and support other people, like your spouse, your partner, or your kids, or your other family members, right? You can help them and support them in the ways they need to. And by the way, when you connect with parts of you and your intuition, you improve decision making anywhere. Okay, it's not just investment picking. You'll find yourself not feeling overwhelmed with too much information, all that kind of stuff. You'll find you'll be able to speed that up anywhere. All right, so how did I get from to my essentials, right? So first, I really had to look within. And it's painful when you do that. So without help, I looked at the divorce and what really went wrong. And guess what? The answer was me. It wasn't her. It wasn't something else. It wasn't the fact that I was Yahoo. It was me, right? And I had to fix that. So a lot of it was about communication, right? I had to change my style of relating and validating and supporting. I actually had relationship issues. I thought it was okay. But really it comes down to solving problems with another person. So I had to kind of work on that. I had to break free from my parents. I don't know if that resonates with anybody, but a lot of us still have parental influences to this day, and have we really broken free of them or not? And really becomes, it's about becoming an adult, right? And really becoming your own. I can tell you right now, I've met 60-year-old people who are still not reached their full adulthood. So there's always work in there. Okay, so that was all done by myself, okay? But then came coach training. And then things got really interesting. I put those in capital letters, looking within right now. But wow, there was a lot more to dig, because I think we all have arrogance about, oh, we're perfect, right? We are awesome just the way we are. There's nothing wrong with us. Everybody else is wrong. There's something it's always the other person's fault. So these are the things I found as I really looked within, overcoming my need to help, right? That is a big one, right? It's like, I just have to help you, right? And what that means is I did not honor people for where they were at. I gave them the answer. I just said, oh, you should do that. And that's actually a problem. But it also allowed me to deal with other situations like, you know what? This person needs to be like this, even if they're on a path to like destruction or even death. I've had a few clients already who are on the path to dying. And that's tough to face when you see them in session saying, oh, I'm not going to do that. And that thing could help them. And I'm like, you know what? That's okay. That's the way they want. And that's okay. Loving everybody. I mean, truly like just saying it's okay the way you are. And I still love you for it. Even if you just called me some 4-letter word, I still love you, man. It is still cool. Diving into some esoteric areas about myself, like inherited family trauma work, soul loss and retrieval. All this stuff really helped remove all the blocks and barriers and triggers in my life. And also a really tough project that I had to do was learning new languages, the language of emotion, of a support, of love even, appreciation and more, okay? We think we know how to communicate just because we can speak English. And it's when you have a second language, and when English is your second language, that can be even tougher, right? Because you haven't really grown up with that language. So it's still a big work in progress all the way from 2004 all the way into the present. So the roadmap, here it is, just quickly, right? Look through these. You've seen and heard about these things before. I'm really big on helping people getting to as far as they can down all these roads. And it really is about surviving to thriving as an investor. Working on all these things will get you there. So when you have control of yourself, resilient life, the ability to love yourself and others, then you'll be able to support entrepreneurs in the best way possible, make those decisions and see situations with all parts of you undistorted, weather those inevitable downs because they're going to come. And in fact, they might be with you right now. So you can find joy in investing and not only negativity and stress. So I told my story then. What story will you write for yourself going forward from today? And since this is a presentation, you're probably wondering like, oh, this is all nice, Dave. Thanks for telling me all that. Well, what the heck can I do? Is there something actionable out of this? Well, here's some things. The things that everybody can start with are the basics, right? Sleep, protect and nurture your great sleep because you need that. If you don't have that, there's almost nothing you can do about it. Stress. Now, it turns out that if you haven't heard this already, it's your mindset towards stress that kills you, not the stress itself. But if there are any of these negative stressors or big stressors in your life, remove those when you can. Physical health is really important, especially coming out of the pandemic. You did not get out of your seat anymore. You worked at home, and pretty soon everybody thought, oh, working from home is great.
Good morning, everyone. We are going to get started in a few minutes.
Okay. Anyway, so get good nutrition, exercise, go outside and move, work on your mental health. I would offer up 2 things for that. Try journaling. It's great for awareness and release. And there's something called expressive writing. I'd urge you to check that out. It's a great book by Jamie Penbaker that I'd urge you to check out about expressive writing. great stuff there. And try a social media diet. Just stop checking Facebook, Twitter, even YouTube, even your favorite news app. Try it for a week and see what happens. And then pay attention to your energy and recovery, because you should never deplete more than you recover from in your life. Don't ever take your battery down below zero. I've met so many people in session that through the pandemic, their batteries were below zero. I swear. And they want to work on all this trauma and all this stuff, whatever they have in front of them. I go, you need to get more sleep, because if you don't get that energy back, there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. So improve your recovery. And that's it. Sorry to take much time, but I thank you for this opportunity to kind of talk about this, something that is both in Faz and minds and hearts today. And I'd like to open up for questions and comments.
Thank you so much, Dave. Do you have time for a couple of quick questions? I know you've got something else coming up right after this.
I'm good. So
You're good.
I don't want to tap into your time with sharing deals and things.
We'll let folks in. So Dave's contact info is here. And Dave, if you want to also put it into the chat box, that would be awesome.
I already did.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for this awesome, really important presentation. And I'm going to go back to what we always talk about, which is the most important part of what we invest in is the jockey, the person, people. We're all about people, that's what it's all about. And so part of what Dave is talking about here from his own experiences, here's a man, entrepreneur, a human being, entrepreneur, parent, angel investor, venture capitalist, seen it all, and now a coach, right? A life coach. This is where the rubber meets the road. And for those of you like myself who are busy, or have been saying that, right? And pulling your hair out or hair on fire type of thing, self-awareness comes from the ability to be still, to actually be still and have a connection with who you are, what you are, and a lot of times facilitating it through a conversation with someone who knows what to ask and what to help you be accountable for. So with that, please unmute yourself, raise your hand if you want to ask Dave any question that you'd like.
Hello, Dave. Thank you for the presentation. You don't mention trust. And at the early stage of investing, it's all about trusting, transparency, telling the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there's a tendency from entrepreneurs to only tell us the good and just ask for money when there's the bad. How do you deal with that? Because I find out when there is, can you distinguish between somebody who is naive and just only want to tell you good things versus people with bad intention and, potentially hide? And that usually is a recipe for catastrophe.
You're right. I didn't mention trust, but it is, as you say, right, is a very important part to this. So, but it is bound, I would say, in my mention of intuition, right? So intuition allows you to feel out, is this person telling me the truth? And also, by the way, is this person going to be here for the long haul? For example, I've met so many people, you start talking to them, they have a decent idea. So at least I wanted to meet with them. And then they start talking about maybe their family, and they think they can only do it on 9 to 5. And they just, you can feel the dream coming out of them, right? They have the dream. Everybody does. But then I go, you realize you better have a good discussion with your spouse, because they're not going to see you. But if you go home at 5 thinking you can do that too, then that's my money that you're not working for the other hours, because there's other guys out there who are doing that. So these are things that are tied intrinsically with your ability to intuit that. You'll feel that. You may hear it, but really feeling that and hearing how that's coming out, even the energy that they're giving off when you're meeting with them, that's going to get you to, do I really trust this guy or not? And do I trust this guy with my money, by the way? They may be, they're tied together, but they also may be also sort of, I don't know, I guess I can't really say they're separate, but it's really someone who's going to take care of your money, right? It's like, I've had so many, the entrepreneurs that I cherish are the ones that said, you know what? I worked hard. I didn't take that return that I could have gotten from all the years, but I got your money back, right? That's the kind of person I want to bet on again.